name's Shane Byrne.
I'm Ethan Humble.
I'm Matthew Muller.
I'm Trent, Lloyd.
According to Tim Fenhold, a surveyor at courts, 6.8 billion out of 7 billion people on the earth have a cell phone subscription.
We use these every day for many different purposes, from school to entertainment and for calls. Modern cell phones have evolved a ton, both physically and culturally.
Cell phones have evolved in society to a tool that was considered a luxury to now a tool that is considered an everyday object. We have also changed in how we use them, both mentally and physically.
Today, by analyzing the 6 main features of cell phone, being size, data, and Wi-Fi, camera, Bluetooth, voice control, and touchscreen, we will see truly how cell phones have changed the world.
We will first begin by discussing how the evolution from when the first cell phone came out till today. The first cell phone release was the Motorola Dynatac 800X. This simple cell phone was connected by a cord to a receiver. It was released in 1983 and was ahead of its generation, and the price showed this more than ever. It was a whopping $4,000 and was not available to the public. According to Tigers Mobile Limited, this simple cell phone was used for the next decade until the orbital TPU 900 was released in 1991 and was the first cell phone released to the market.
According to Engineers Forum magazine, these types of phones were initially limited to business and industrial use only, but over time became available for recreational and consumer use. The touchscreen is the phone size is the first groundbreaking feature we have to share with you today. Phones initially got smaller from the 1983 release on, but since the groundbreaking feature of touchscreen came around, phone size increased back to the size where we are today.
We can see these facts that Trent and Shane have presented to you through 3 different examples of phones using our favorite wood blocks here. Firstly, the Motorola handset, released in 1973, according to Art Institutes, had dimensions of 9 by 5 by 2 inches and weighed a whopping 2.5 pounds. Moving into the smallest phone ever released, the Alcatel OT511, had dimensions of a measly 4 by 1.5 by 0.7 inches and weighed just 2.6 ounces. The most recent smartphone ever released, the iPhone XS Max, had dimensions of 6.2 by 3 by 0.3 inches, and this has become the commonplace that we see in people's hands today. So, phones began large, got very small, and have now gotten larger since the release of touchscreen.
Advancing forward, data and Wi-Fi connection would be the next major innovation in cell phones. The G that stands for generation would be the way to gauge these developments. In 1980, 1G was first released, but it was so slow due to the slow analog connectivity and regular noise sensitivity compared to landlines. However, having 1G in the 80s was still considered a luxury by society standards.
1G connection cell phones were only available to Wall Street execs. Middle-class people did not have the access to these phones. It was not till 2G came out in 1993 that middle-class people could buy these. According to Product Evolution, 2G connection brought us SMS, multimedia messaging, caller ID, and internet access. Digital compression was a huge factor with 2G networks. This allowed many more people to call at the same time on the same cell tower with better reception.
3G then became the standard when it was released in 2005. Phones transmitted on a lower wattage and were significantly more efficient. 3G was also encrypted better, and info was much safer than it was on 2G. 4G LTE was the next revolution in mobile data. It came out in 2011 and improved the speed of connectivity and reduced network congestion among various cell users. But it caused network confusion. It caused slower download and upload speeds as a result.
The most recent form of Bluetooth we have announced today, Bluetooth 5.0, will be released the next year, 2020. It will be better than all data forms before with its high data rates, reduced latency, energy saving, cost reduction, high capacity, and increased connectivity. all around Bluetooth 5.0, will rise to the occasion in all forms of Bluetooth we see today. It will have 100 times the capacity of 4G and will ultimately sync our devices to the cloud, different medical devices, and industrial equipment as well. We see that in 2020 this will be released, so we don't have it today, but it's coming soon. To put all of this talk about Wi-Fi and data into perspective, a 2-hour-long video that you would download from, let's say, YouTube, would take 26 hours to download on 3G, 6 minutes to download on 4G, and guess what? A whopping 3.6 seconds on 5G. 5G will rise to the occasion.
Moving back into the year 2000, the first camera was ever released on cell phones. Originally, however, it could only hold 20 photos, and you even had to delete your old ones in order to hold new ones. The resolution of these cameras were also very poor, as the megapixels ranged from 0.11 to 0.35. And even though you could take pictures, you could not see it on the phone, as you had to plug it back into the computer to view them.
However, cameras have advanced a long way since they were first put in phones. After a few years they were in phones, they were able to have digital flash, self-timers, and limited zoom. These made the pictures way better than when they first came out. Nowadays though, cameras have access to dual camera settings, the ability to take wide and panoramic photos, 12 megapixel resolution, and many more advanced settings to make pictures way better.
Bluetooth features broaden the spectrum of remote connectivity as wireless communication expanded further. Bluetooth is defined as a short-range wireless technology between two devices. The first Bluetooth device was a Sony Ericsson in 2001, but it wasn't until 2004 that it became widespread in cellular devices. The next advancement in Bluetooth was the EDR, or Enhanced Data Rate. It was capable of boosting data transfer up to 3 megabits per second, which it released in 2007. The next evolution will be the secure, simple pairing technology, and it makes the pairing of Bluetooth devices easier and safer, and also faster.
Bluetooth, however, has taken many steps to become the wonderful tool to cell phones that we have today. In 2009, Bluetooth 3.0 was released, increasing data transfer even more from Trent's 3 megabits per second to now 24 megabits per second. It is 11 times faster as well than any previous forms of Bluetooth. In 2010, Bluetooth 4.0 was released, increasing connectivity and range, and also implemented power-saving features, so that way we don't have to constantly turn Bluetooth on and off. It can just stay on all the time, and it won't drain our battery throughout the day. Bluetooth 5.0 will be the most recent release of Bluetooth. It is being called Bluetooth on steroids by increasing Bluetooth to a 400-foot range, very long ways, and increasing speed of Bluetooth connectivity as well.
Advancing forward, touchscreen would be a tool for the future. In 2007, the first touchscreen phone, the LG Prado, was released to the public. This phone would open the door to touchscreen, and it would not be closed again until this very day. Nowadays, cell phones are fully reliant on touchscreens, from everything from your numerical keys to even numbers. Everything that can be used on a phone, it can be accessed by one tap of a finger.
Touchscreens alone have generated $16 billion in revenue for tech industries. There are now 18 different styles of touchscreen used today, ranging from infrared light to sound waves. The engineers of these processors now have a better understanding of how our pressure can affect touch. So these touchscreens analyze our pressure to do different things when we touch the screen.
The last feature we have to share with you today is voice control, which also is the most recent feature. Voice control became a commonplace with Google Voice before Apple launched Siri into the market. When Siri was released in 2011, it became the first voice control in smartphones and made phones easier to use than ever before.
A phone called Ray uses nearly all voice control possible so that we don't even have to tap or look at our phones at all. It helps aid visually and hearing impaired members of society to be able to have all the features that we access without needing to touch. This is seen as a commonplace in households today through Google Homes as well as the Amazon Echo. And you may hear people say, Alexa, what's the daily forecast today? And she'll respond by giving you a very precise measurement before you even had to take your phone out of your pocket and enter your passcode. Voice control is launching now, and we see it in households today everywhere.
Enough on the features, as this is all the farther they have evolved to this day. We will now transition from the physical features of cell phones to how they have affected us mentally, physically, and socially. There's no doubt that cell phones are near and dear to almost all of our hearts, but just like anything else, they have their strengths, but they definitely have their weaknesses. We will now talk about the health and wellness that cell phones have affected.
We'll first begin our health analysis by talking about the mental and emotional health effects from cell phones. First, cell phone addiction has created a huge roadblock, not only with productivity, but also our emotional state. According to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, cell phone addiction brings along low self-esteem and poor social relationships. This then causes people to want to keep checking their phones to stay up to date with their friends.
Not only does usage impact us in the short term, but in the long term as well. Phone addiction over time leads to loneliness, depression, and isolation as a whole. The results of several studies show that there is a direct correlation with text message addiction and a student's social anxiety. There has also been studies that show traits of extroversion and neuroticism as a result of overuse of cell phones. In a study in regards to mental health, 14% of students had higher results of depression, OCD, introversion, and intraneural sensitivity alike.
In addition to the emotional problems Trent mentioned, it also causes anxiety, irritability, sleep disturbances, shaking, insomnia, and digestive problems. Cell phones are emotionally controlling our lives today. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, women have greater symptoms of cell phone addiction than men do. And this is because of their greater usage of the many different features that phones have today. This can be different social media, lots of different networking systems. Generally, women are using phones more than men, and it shows with their mental health. To sum up our immense emotional health analysis, oh boy, 50% of people are affected by having anger and irritability symptoms that go along with cell phone usage. 1 in every 2 people. Come on, guys, this is getting out of hand. It is enraging us to use our cell phones today, and it shows in the statistics.
Now moving from mental to physical health, cell phones have been shown to cause less productivity in class, organization, and jobs. The Journal of Community Health and Education found that cell phones show causes of worse time management and shows addiction. In 2014, 75% of the population were using smartphones, compared to the same stat in 2010, only 27% were using smartphones. Cell phones are taking a large toll on our physical health and our everyday lives.
Cell phones have attached us as citizens to current events around us and around the world. The cell phones have also epitomized second-by-second news. It is also a great tool for efficient communication, great fast web surfing, and social networks. There are always positives, but with those positives there are negatives. And psychology today says that through a number of studies, there are also physical problems. Cell phone addiction has created gene regulation, auditory and visual problems, increased pressure on the cornea, headache, and sensation in the ears, memory loss, and fatigue.
Prolonged cell phone use has even found to be a cause of brain tumors, body aches, eye strain, and digital thumb. In a United Kingdom study of 6,500 children under the age of 12 years old, it found that 51% of them did not receive the recommended 1 hour of physical activity each day, with girls having a far higher instance of not getting the necessary exercise more than boys. In a separate United Kingdom study, it showed that an average kid gets their first phone at age 12, and 1 in 10 has one by age 5. Phones are not only affecting the way adults and young adults are behaving both mentally and physically, but also our youth.
Moving now from the physical health to wrapping up our health analysis with the social aspect of using cell phones. They have changed social interaction forever. 58% of cell phone users feel pressure to respond much faster than they would if they were in person. And this is because it's right there at the tap of your finger. And if you are going to respond really fast, it's going to likely be less critical. You're not going to use the same tone that you would in real life. And it's breaking down that barrier that we see in face-to-face interaction. Generationally, younger people are using cell phones much differently than older people, and that they are utilizing all the features that cell phones have. Older people generally will just use call and text, but for younger people, this is becoming the main form of communication, and it shows in our social wellness.
Continuing on with how cell phones have affected our social health. Cell phones have been shown to cause a loss of patience, bad grammar, and less human interaction. According to Washington Times psychiatrist Jeremy Spiegel, founder of Bay Coast Medical, the cell phone replaces basic human interaction. Other experts have also called this generation the narcissist generation due to their excessive use of cell phones, thinking that others want to be up to date with them at all times, so they need to be checking and updating their phones. Cell phones have also been shown to cause diseases such as OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and learning disorders such as ADD, attention deficit disorder, because they need to be on their phone at all times.
Cell phones and social media have become a primary platform for cyberbullying. Even though it is way easier now to make friends and keep friends on social media, it is also way easier for predators to gain trust and then terrorize them in front of their peers. These online attacks often leave deep mental scars and even push some people to suicide. Socially, cell phones are hurting us more than ever today because of the lack of face-to-face contact with our peers.
In conclusion, cell phones have evolved into the tool we see in the hands of many today. It is rare to go somewhere in public and see someone not on their cell phone and not engaged in regular face-to-face contact, but instead having contacts over various forms of social media and messaging. While cell phones have been a positive tool for us, they also have had a negative effect on our health and also our youth's health.
Through going through the mental, physical, and social branches of health, we can see how they have transformed society today. Cell phones are changing us both physically and culturally through their features of Bluetooth, data and Wi-Fi, camera, voice connection, and the size as well as touchscreen. These 6 different features have changed the way that we communicate with each other today, and they have affected the 3 branches of health as a result.
However, there's no changing the fact that 6.8 billion out of 7 billion people on this earth have this powerful tool at one touch of a finger. All in all, cell phones have changed the world, and they don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon.